You've been hearing more about Medicare Advantage, or perhaps you're thinking about enrolling in a Medicare Advantage plan. What are some pros and cons to think about? Well, I'm going to go over 3 pros and 3 cons to Medicare Advantage. First, looking at the pros, the first pro is that it typically has a lower monthly plan premium. So you aren't paying high premiums to get still fairly robust coverage. The second pro is that they have additional benefits typically. They may include dental, vision, hearing coverage. They may include a free gym membership. They may include over-the-counter benefits. Now, that benefit can vary greatly based on your area, as well as premiums can be based on your area. But you can have some of these added benefits at no additional cost to yourself. The third pro is that these plans, especially the PPOs, the preferred provider organizations, have large national networks of providers. Now, in emergency situations, whether you're on an HMO or PPO, you're always covered in emergency situations throughout the U.S. But let's say you have a summer home in Tennessee and you live in Illinois. Well, in the summer you go down to Tennessee and you want to see a primary care doctor just for your routine physical or routine checkup. You can do so with that national network of doctors. No longer do you have to wait until you get back to Illinois and see a local provider. You have that flexibility with these different large national providers. But what about the drawbacks? Because just like anything, there is pros and cons. The first con is because it is a low monthly plan premium, it is a pay as you go. You may have a copay to see a specialist. And if one year you see the specialist quite a few times, you may pay more in copays than the year prior where you may have only seen them once. So in that regard, it's not as easy to predict on what your medical costs will be. Now, of course, there are limits on these medical costs, but from year to year it may change based on your usage of the plan. The second con is that Medicare Advantage does have more prior authorization than original Medicare. Now, original Medicare still has some prior authorization. It's by no means is that not necessarily the case. But Medicare Advantage may have prior authorizations before certain procedures or surgeries or certain infusions. Now, prior authorization, many people view it as a dirty word. Prior authorization does not mean that you aren't going to get coverage or you aren't going to have different things covered. It just means the doctor has to prove the medical necessity. All they're trying to do, the insurance company, is prevent fraud, waste, and abuse. Having these different checks in place, help keep these premiums down, help keep these added benefits part of their plans. Doesn't mean that your coverage is going to be automatically denied just because you have to go through prior authorization, but it is something to be aware of. The third one is that you still have to stay within that network of doctors. If it's an HMO, you have to stay within it. You can't go out unless it's an emergency. Or if you have your PPO, you get a better rate staying in, but you can still go out. But it's not guaranteed that the doctor will automatically accept your PPO if they aren't in a network. So you are still limited to that national PPO, for instance, or the local HMO network, compared to the 97% of doctors that accept original Medicare. Now, again, by no means is it hard to find a doctor that accepts Medicare Advantage, but you may be more limited depending on the area you're living in. I hope this helps you better understand how Medicare works. There's a lot of pros, there are some cons. The thing to keep in mind that these insurance companies, they're all regulated by Medicare. Medicare tracks these different things and they see where perhaps some of the pitfalls are and they put in regulation or manage these different plans or companies if there are issues that are arising. So it is an ever-changing market, ever-changing plans to keep in mind, but you have to do what's right for yourself, what you feel comfortable with. Are you comfortable with those potential cons? Do those pros for yourself outweigh the cons ultimately? Finding a plan that fits your needs is the most important thing. Something that you're comfortable with the premiums, comfortable with the coverage when you use it, and ultimately fits your specific situation based on the area that you're currently living in.